This conference will now be recorded.
So today we are discussing this 2017 top pelvic exenteration surgeries for recurrent gynecological cancers after radiotherapy. So here just you should know for what it is used, what is exactly done in these surgeries and what are the complications of it. Okay. So this is a very simple thing actually. Actually looks very difficult and very boring, but it's very simple. I have just made few notes of it and then you don't have to go to that talk again. Okay. So what is this pelvic exenteration means? So it involves the in-block removal of some or all the pelvic organs. That means you are going to remove, because you are concerned with gynecology, you are going to remove all the reproductive organs, that is uterus, fallopian tubes and ovaries and vagina. And along with that, you will remove urethra, bladder, and rectum, and sometimes occasionally anal canal, vulva, and perineum. And also along with that, urinary and fecal diversion you will do. Okay, you can do it in one stoma or you can do it in different stomas. Urinary and fecal diversion. So it is a single stoma, ureterosigmoidostomy. Nowadays, these operations are mostly done for recurrent gynecological cancers that have been previously received radiotherapy, and less commonly done for locally advanced or persistent disease following either primary chemotherapy, radiotherapy treatment. Okay, so this exenteration surgeries, these are done either in curative intent or in palliative intent. So in curative exenteration, what are the criteria should be followed? That is, there must be no metastatic disease outside the operative field. So there should be no metastasis outside that organ. Okay, so that is the first criteria of curative exenteration, and also the complete histological clearance after the surgery that should be achieved. That means histologic free margin, which is known as R0. Okay, so R0 means there will be no evidence of cancer in the margins, while R1 is the histologically involved margins and R2 is the grossly involved margin or cut through that cancer. Okay, so your margin should be R0. Then you can call it as curative exenteration. So one is there should be no metastasis outside that organ, and another is the histology should be R0. Now, in case of palliative exenteration, so it can be done in presence of distant metastasis, peritoneal spread, either positive pelvic or para-aortic lymph nodes, and when the histologic resection or the margins are not clear of the disease. That means R1 or R2. Okay, so these are the criteria for palliative exenteration. So the indications for this exenterative surgery is most common indication is recurrent cervical cancer following radiotherapy. So either with or without chemotherapy or prior radical surgery. So these most recurrences, they occur within 3 years of primary treatment, and 5-year survival rate in recurrent cervical cancer, it ranges from 6 to 77%. So you have to see whether these cancers are amenable to exenteration surgery or not. Recurrent endometrial or uterine cancers, recurrent vulval or vaginal cancers. So most common indication for exenteration is recurrent cervical cancer, but it can be performed either for endometrial or vulval vaginal cancers also. Exceptional cases of recurrent ovarian cancers where persistent pelvic disease following radiotherapy. So these are very exceptional because in ovary you don't use radiotherapy that much. Okay, and outside the gynecologic indication, local control of recurrent urological cancers and primary, locally advanced or recurrent rectal cancers. So these are the outside gynecology indication. So what you should remember is it is most commonly for recurrent cervical cancer. Now, what are the alternatives for this exenteration surgery? So either you can wait and see, you can either give chemotherapy, you can enroll them in the trial for new drug therapy, palliative care, and now more recent advances for this recurrent cancer is CyberKnife or stereotactic body radiotherapy. So this is a new advance. So when you see the classification of this exenteration surgery, there are two ways of classification. So one way is it is either total exenteration, that means anterior plus posterior, or it is anterior or posterior exenteration. So what do you mean by anterior exenteration? Means removal of reproductive organs. That means uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries, and part or whole of the vagina. And along with that, in anterior, as you can know, it is bladder, urethra, and distal urethra. Okay, so anterior means involving the bladder, posterior means involving the rectum. So posterior means removal of reproductive tract plus rectum, and it may include the anal canal also. So this is the simple classification. So it can be total anterior, total means anterior plus posterior, or it can be anterior or posterior exenteration depending upon the site of the disease. Then another classification is dependent on the, they are taken the label as a levator ani. So levator ani they have taken as a main this thing classification point, and according to that that point they have classified it into type 1, type 2 and type 3 exenteration. Okay, so type 1 exenteration, it is above levator ani. So can you see in this picture, see this is the levator ani muscle. So above this it is the supralevator. Supralevator is type 1. Here what they are going to do is levator ani and urogenital diaphragm will remain intact, and also there will be vulva and perineum will remain intact. So here the most important thing is they don't require this perineal reconstruction. As you can see, they will require only the stomas to be formed, okay, for urinary and fecal diversion. But here the perineal reconstruction is not required for type 1. Type 2, it is below levator ani. Here, levator ani can be completely excised or limitedly excised. Here again, vulva and perineum will remain intact. Okay, so here they will not go, they are not going to remove the distal urethra, they are not going to remove the anal canal. Okay, so these are the things that will remain intact. While type 3 is total. So here they are going to, the level is below levator ani, it will be complete resection. So it will be, vulva will be completely removed, perineum will be removed, most of the time anal canal will be also removed. So type 3 is complete exenteration. Okay. So now what are the prognostic factors for this exenteration surgery? So even if you do exenteration, survival will be poor in case of where the patient performance status is poor, in case of obesity, diabetes or cardiorespiratory disease, psychological frailty, short time to recurrence. That means disease-free interval is less than 2 years. Metastatic disease in pelvic lymph node or para-aortic lymph node. Positive peritoneal fluid or washings. Size of lesion more than 5 centimeters. Histological margin status when it is R1 or R2. That means margins are involved. R0 means there is free margins. There are free margins. Okay. Histological evidence of infiltration of blood vessel, lymphatic or perineural diseases. So here most of the time this pelvic side wall is involved. So these are all the poor prognostic factors for this exenteration surgery. Now what is the preoperative workup which is required for this exenteration surgery? So thorough clinical examination to determine the feasibility, routine blood investigation as of for any surgery, multidisciplinary discussion where in oncology, urogynecology, colonic surgeons, all these should be involved. Okay. CT scanning, pelvic MRI scanning to know the exact extent of the disease. And the most important thing is PET scan. PET scan, why? To determine the eligibility of pelvic exenteration. Why? Because we have to exclude the metastatic disease. Okay, and for that PET scanning is the most accurate radiological test to determine the eligibility for pelvic exenteration. This is a question. Okay, then before surgery you have to do examination under anesthesia, cystoscopy, sigmoidoscopy and biopsies, because sometimes PET scanning will not show any disease, but when you do all this examination and diagnostic laparoscopy also, sometimes retroperitoneal nodes will be involved or sometimes the metastatic spread will be there. So in that case, this exenteration will not be feasible or it is contraindicated. Also in preoperative period, what we have to take care of is blood transfusion, iron infusion to maintain the hemoglobin level. Mechanical bowel preparation is required. Thromboprophylaxis you should be taken care of, and consultation with stoma nurse because you require this urinary and fecal diversion. Now exactly what this surgery comprises. So the first phase is resection of recurrent cancer. So here the extended midline incision is made and exploratory laparotomy is done to ensure that there is no metastatic disease, and then all the resection of the disease and the organs is done. Now, more recently, these exenteration surgeries are done by minimal access route also. That means laparoscopy. And once this resection is over, second phase is reconstruction. Now, here reconstruction involves depending upon the type of exenteration, whether it is an anterior, posterior, or type 1, type 2, type 3. So, the reconstruction can involve urinary stream, fecal stream, pelvic floor, vagina, perineum, and anterior abdominal wall. The more the tissue is excised and more the extensive reconstruction is done, the greater is the morbidity, as you all can know. So now how you are going to do this urinary stream diversion? So urinary stream diversion can done in 4 ways. So previously it was done as a weight stoma. So weight stoma means both fecal and urinary, they are diversed through a same stoma. Okay, but there is high incidence of recurrent UTIs, metabolic abnormalities, chronic kidney disease and failure, and difficulty associated with large volume artery stools because the urine is mixed with the feces. So right now this weight stoma is not in very much use. Another thing what you can do is right side ileal segment conduit for urinary diversion. So ileal segment for urinary diversion on right side and left sided colostomy. Okay, this is considered as a standard procedure and it is also known as incontinent urinary diversion. Incontinent urinary diversion. So here ileal conduit on the right side for urinary diversion and left side colostomy. Third thing what you can do for urinary diversion is continent urinary diversion. That means here it is a high volume and low pressure reservoir is created with a segment of colon, and continence mechanism is made up from appendix and terminal ileum, which is brought to the skin. Okay, so it is known as continent urinary diversion. And now another thing what is came into new this, it is double barreled weight colostomy. So here exactly what happens is they are doing afferent and efferent, two stomas. Okay, same stomas in the single stoma but afferent and efferent. Here the advantages are shorter operating time, shorter stay in hospital, and few anastomotic leaks. The proximal stoma is for fecal diversion and distal stoma is for urinary diversion. This reconstruction does not require bowel anastomosis and urinary diversion does not require irradiated segment of small bowel. So this is the new concept for this urinary stream diversion and for fecal diversion also. Now fecal diversion, low colorectal anastomosis should not be done because there are high chances of leak, background and fistula formation. So low colorectal anastomosis should not be done. Instead of that, fecal diversion should be done through either ileostomy or single stoma. Okay, as I mentioned previously. Then how you are going to reconstruct this pelvic floor, vagina, perineum and abdominal wall. So here, as I previously told, for supralevator exenteration, pelvic floor remains intact and there is no reconstruction is required. But when you have resected the levator ani, then pelvic floor requires to be reconstructed to prevent herniation of organs to the perineum. Because to prevent abscess formation, herniation of small bowel and small bowel fistula formation, it is also known as empty pelvic syndrome and it is the most dangerous and life-threatening complication. So whenever you are going to resect levator ani, you have to perform pelvic reconstruction. So this pelvic floor reconstruction, how you can do? You can use either synthetic materials like Prolene or Vicryl mesh. You can use biological materials like a cellular biological matrix, or you can use autologous tissues like omental flaps or myocutaneous flaps, or composite reconstruction where you can use both synthetic plus autologous tissues. So operative morbidity or mortality for this exenteration surgery, mortality rate is around 14%. Overall morbidity is around 33 to 75%, while serious morbidity is in the range of 50%. Complications. Most common complications are infectious morbidity like wound infection, urinary tract infection, sepsis, wound or pelvic abscess, and chest problems. Immediate problems, they usually because of longer operations, large fluid shifts and large blood loss. Also thromboembolic complications can be there in early period. Later complications, they include anastomotic leaks. Usually they present in second week. Then late morbidities, they include intestinal obstruction, intestinal fistula, and abdominopelvic reconstructive failure. Also, there are problems like psychosexual issues, impaired quality of life, and common late problems like lower limb vulval or perineal edema. So these are the late complications. Now, another thing is, as I told you, when the pelvic side wall is involved, the exenteration surgery is contraindicated. But now they have found out that they can do this exenteration surgery even if the pelvic side wall is involved. So actually, what is the symptoms that suggest that involvement of pelvic side wall is? It is a classical triad of ureteric obstruction, which can be bilateral, worsening leg edema, and neurological symptoms like pain. In these cases, sometimes you can do this LEER. LEER means laterally extended endopelvic resection. Here, it may or may not involve resection of one or more pelvic viscera, but along with pelvic bone. Okay, so it is the resection of one or more pelvic viscera along with pelvic bone. It is the for the side wall involvement, pelvic side wall involvement. What are the contraindications for this LEER operation are involvement of sciatic nerve and peritoneal metastasis. Peritoneal metastasis and sciatic nerve involvement are contraindication for this LEER operation. Another recent advance, as I told you, it is a CyberKnife, that is stereotactic radiotherapy. Post-operative care for this exenteration surgery is admission in either ICU or HDU, prophylactic low molecular weight heparin plus broad spectrum antibiotics for at least 24 to 48 hours, and then again after reassessment. Total parenteral nutrition may be required because you are doing this colostomy and all these things. So it may be required for some times. Early mobilization and ambulation is actually encouraged once the patient is extubated, but sometimes it is very difficult because of this pelvic floor reconstruction. Compression stockings for many leaks and prolonged rehabilitation period is required. Almost at least 6 months rehabilitation is required because of all these reconstruction procedures. Survival rate after this is, what they have found out is, if the exenteration surgery is successful, 5-year survival rate is up to 54%. And when the patient is still alive at 5 years, then there are chances that survival rate at 10 years is around 87%. Okay. And the recurrence rate for cervical cancer after this exenteration surgery, it is from 6% to 60%. Okay. So it is around 60%, but it can be as high as 60%. Recurrent cervical cancer after exenteration surgery rate is from 6 to 60%. Okay. So this is regarding this exenteration surgery talk. This is the only thing that is required from this talk, because this looks very boring and this looks very difficult to understand also. So these are the 2 questions from this talk. Answer in your chat box. 60-year-old woman had just been diagnosed with recurrent cervical cancer, which has been treated with radiotherapy. She offered pelvic exenteration. This surgery would be considered palliative rather than curative when she has yes, your answer. Yeah, very good. So involvement of pelvic or para-aortic lymph node means it is a metastatic disease, and metastatic disease is a palliative. Other all things becomes curative, okay, curative exenteration. But metastatic disease or lymph node involvement becomes palliative. So answer is option is E. The next, what is the best investigation to identify extrapelvic disease in patients being considered for pelvic exenteration for recurrent gynecological cancer? Now this is very easy. Yeah, it's D. It is PET scan. To rule out any metastatic disease, PET scan is the investigation of choice. So this is regarding this pelvic exenteration talk. Tomorrow, if time permits, we can do, or we will do it on Thursday. Okay. Bye for today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.